and it's really, really, really beautiful out. We're coming to you from Rythmia Life Advancement Center, Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste. What we believe in here is something called a soul merger. And what a little bit about Rythmia. Right now, our numbers are way, way up. We have 97.46% is a miracle rate that's self-reported electronically by clients. That means that 974 out of every 1,000 clients have reported that they've had a life-changing miracle during their stay. Really, really wild stuff. And we have 1,300. We hit 1,300 reviews on TripAdvisor, I think yesterday or the day before. And by the way, we are the #1 customer rated resort in the world on TripAdvisor from a percentage of 5-star reviews. We got it going on. This week, the amazing Taita Juanito Chindon is here with us at Rythmia. It's going to be a wild week. 90-some people here. Fantastic week. And by the way, a little coronavirus update on our protocols. Since the start of coronavirus, and since the very start, we test people coming and going. We have not had one client case of coronavirus. Not one. Not one. So this methodology of having a closed campus, testing on the in, testing on the out, triple testing employees daily, we have it wired, and we're all good. So please, whatever you're doing, come to Rythmia as soon as possible. The miracles are crazy. We've had an inordinately large amount of celebs and high-powered people lately that have really had something wild happen to them. Ron White, one of my favorite comedians in the world, was here 2 weeks ago and had an amazing experience. And a lot of people have had experiences that we just can't talk about, but it's all been amazing. We're getting 100% miracle rate week in and week out because we keep getting better. We got Kim Terranova. We got like amazing stem cell group. We have everything working together, and it is clicking and firing. Please get here. This is Messages from the Medicine 10. This will be the last one of this kind. I take a vacation next week, and I'm going to see my kids in Turks and Caicos. I'm going to have a wonderful time. I'm going to be off campus for a few weeks, but I'm still going to be doing these. But this is the last Messages from the Medicine. One of my favorite people, a true spiritual gangster. I was on the phone with him last night, Carlos Duran. To know him is to love him. He's a no baloney guy. And we were talking about something. And when we got off the phone, which I always enjoy this guy so much, when we got off the phone, I went back into my notes, my medicine notes, and I started researching some of the things I was talking to him about, and it's prompted this conversation today. And the conversation today is about making money and staying spiritual at the same time. It's a really, really, really needed thing because it becomes very confusing. It becomes very confusing for people, and I want to take the mystery out of it, because it really, it's much simpler than people assume. In these times of hyper-political correctness, of politeness, and how much we, hey Maria, I love you, kid. In this time of politeness that everybody wants to be super, super, super polite, we want to run the spiritual business differently than we would run any other business, and we want to do this without ruffling the feathers of anyone. So let's start at the beginning. There is no business that is not a spiritual business. If you believe that your soul is eternal, no matter what you're selling to the person that encapsulates that soul, you are in a spiritual business. I don't care if it's prostitution. I don't care what it is. There is nothing you can do that is not a spiritual business. There is nothing that can be conveyed unless you're conveying it to an inanimate object, and even then it might be a spiritual business. So as long as you are in business, if you're a car dealer, a nurse practitioner operating on her own, if you're a doctor, if you're a veteran, whatever you're doing, you're in a spiritual business. Separating a business as more spiritual than another is when we come into great, great, great problems, because the laws that work in a spiritual business are the same laws that work in any business. Because the things that make that business work do not change. They don't change. They are constant. So let's talk about some of these things. Polite versus good. It's so easy to get caught up in this. And flim-flam men, con men, have known this from the beginning of time. What they try to do is be polite to cover up their intentions. And the foolish will always fall prey to that. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody who's polite has an ulterior motive. That is not it at all. At all. As a matter of fact, most hyper-successful people are polite. They are considerate. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the people that are pretending to be polite and stealing from you at the same time. I would much rather, there was a whole study out about people who curse. I immediately trust people who curse and who are gruff more, because it's the first sign that they don't give a shit what you think. They are actually prescribed to their own ethical barometer, their own thing. And now we can get somewhere. So let's take a look at this. Already, this has been proven. If you follow Jordan Peterson, regardless of your opinions about him, this has been proven. The two most common traits in the hyper-successful are conscientiousness and argumentativeness. Now, a lot of people will take this and say, oh, well, wait, that doesn't feel right to me because I don't want to argue with people. Well, they make that, when he says the word argumentative, it's easy to get misled by it, but I'll tell you what it means. So conscientiousness is, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it and sign my name on it, and I want it perfect. That means I have a vision, and that vision is my vision. And if someone else helps me and does it a way that's not in line with my vision, I argue with them. That's argumentativeness. All that is clarity of vision, clarity of purpose, and it's not personal. Holy God, here, what would be considered from the outside looking in, you would say, oh my God, this guy is constantly correcting people at his place of business. I am, because I want to provide this particular experience in the exact way that I saw it provided for me by the medicine, and I want to uphold that standard throughout everything, throughout the way we make a bed, the way we do laundry, the way that we wash windows, everything. So does that make me argumentative? To most people, it probably does. Where is that argumentativeness coming from? Is it coming from not enoughness? No, it's not. Yeah, it's not at all. It's coming from conscientiousness, that this is the way that I want this done. And there's a difference. You can tell someone who's arguing for the sake of argument. Usually that is people who sit on the sidelines. They're not players. They're people that critique people. They're very, very argumentative. They're argumentative about things they didn't do. That's argumentativeness. That's true argument. What I'm talking about is conscientiousness that bleeds out into production. So when I'm conscientious, and I'm producing something, that my production line has to be done a particular way. That's the type of argumentativeness that Jordan Peterson is talking to. That is the two primary and most fundamental characteristics of successful men and women. That's a fact of life. Does that look polite? In many cases, no, it doesn't. It doesn't look polite. I'm going to tell you something. I have my family flying to Turks and Caicos to meet me on a plane. Do I want their pilot to be the most polite pilot? No, I don't give a shit if he's polite. What I care about is that he's the best at taking off, flying, and landing. And generally speaking, those two things don't always line up. So getting back to a spiritual business, when you run your spiritual business from a core belief, And when we get this to core beliefs, what are core beliefs? Core beliefs are, I'm going to do this ethically right, meaning I'm going to provide the greatest value that I can for that consumer, whatever it is, whether I'm selling pizzas, whether I'm selling tacos, whether I'm selling shoes, whether I'm selling fishing equipment, whether I'm selling a spiritual experience, it does not matter. I'm going to provide them the most bang for the buck. If I do that, I win. I win, regardless of what my product costs. Speak to the guys that run Bentley. Speak to the guys that run Ferrari. Speak to the guys that run Lamborghini. Price is not an issue when you're dealing with the best. When you create the best, everybody will pay. Everybody, because everybody inherently wants the best, which is the next thing. A lot of things that are happening in our governments around the world, a lot of things that are happening in the way that we think in our colleges and our schools are a breeding ground for what will be mediocrity. Why do I say that? Well, it's been proven already that the more things that are given freely, given away without no skin in the game, the more that those resources tend to be wasted. It's just a fact of life. You research it, you can come to your own conclusion, but if you have 10 fingers and 10 toes, you're going to arrive at the same place. So if society is going to breed politeness over good, and when I say good, what I mean by this, that is for the highest collective good of the group. So if we're going to take politeness over what is best for everyone, if we're going to infiltrate that into the way that we run societies, I was super, super, super worried about this. I was worried about it for 3 weeks. And then I did a medicine journey. And you know what she told me? That just means there's more for the achievers. So wait a second, follow me in this. If you teach your children the core things, what are the core things? Responsibility, accountability, fairness, equality. These things, if you teach hard work, number one, hard work, fairness, responsibility, equality, truth, honor, integrity. If you teach your children this, and if they relentlessly pursue their own dreams without having that expense rely on others. In other words, the relentless pursuit of their craft, the relentless pursuit of perfection, the relentless pursuit of business, whatever their thing is from their aligned soul. If they do this, they will have a huge advantage. When I say huge advantage because people will always pay for superiority. They'll pay for the best, and I mean they will overpay. So what do I mean by that? So let's say the Meadowlands race course. The horses, all the horses on the racetrack, let's say there's 500, are separated by less than a second over a period of 1 mile. Less than a second. And what is the difference in pay? One horse that comes in at 1:55 might be worth $25,000, but a horse that comes in at 1:54 might be worth $1 million. So there's no direct lineage. In other words, you get paid to overpay. The best golfer on the tour from the worst golfer on the tour might average 7 strokes different. And for those 7 strokes, hundreds of millions of dollars more is paid for the top. Hundreds of millions. So what I'm saying to you is that the public will always pay for the best because it's in their best interest. It's in their best interest. So it's in their best interest if you're a private plane to hire the best pilot you can hire. Your life is in his hands, right? It's in your best interest to hire the best neurosurgeon you can hire. Your life is in his hands. It's in your best interest to hire the best nurse that you can hire. Your life is in his or her hands. Fact. So please don't deviate from these things. These things are it. And don't be upset when you see things being made to push down to mediocrity. Because by pushing everything down to mediocrity, you're making the stars more visible. You're making the stars more visible, your own star. It's not bad news. It's good news. It's good news. And if you notice something, although people will not cancel you, right? They may cancel you if you're gruff, but at the same time, who do people follow? They follow the person that has the most definitiveness of purpose. Why? Because it's frequency. So here's the thing. They follow those who are sure that they're going to get to the promised land. They follow those who are sure that that person is going to get to the promised land. And how is that done? It's done through frequency, not words. And sometimes, when that person who is so sure where he's going expresses himself, he may be gruff. He may be imperfect. He might be, and I'm not talking about rude or mean. I'm not talking about Donald Trump's. I'm talking about people who are just dead on where they're going. They might seem hyper-focused. They might seem to not have the best people skills, but their energy is what's picked up because the whole universe is conspiring to help them get there. And that's why everybody's following the path. So, don't feel bad because you're not as politically correct as you should be. Don't feel bad if you're not as hyper polite as you should be. Because those things don't necessarily equate to you being a beneficial presence in your world. They don't. As a matter of fact, they can be a great deterrent if I'm going to allow, let's say I know what is best for my group. And if I'm going to allow politeness to take that down, that is not in the greatest benefit of me and those around me. It is not. So this is something that's learned. The other part of this is this. Once you do this, I just want to say this. So think about this. What is important? What? Conscientiousness. Conscientiousness. Because of that, the outward picturing looks like argumentativeness. It can. Consistency. Super, super, super important. Ethics, fairness, equality. These are things that are all ultimately important. So let's take a look at what's the most important. These are characteristics of success, whatever we think success has. So let's take a look. Did you ever see water attack rock? It wins. Water beats rock. It does. What it needs is time, force, and consistency. Time, force, and consistency. And it wins. And it wins. Did you ever see grass attack concrete? Grass attack concrete. Grass wins. Grass wins. And it doesn't do it through force. It does it through time and consistency. Grass beats concrete. Water beats rock. How do you do it? You do it through consistency. It's that simple. Be consistent. And if you can do that, you win the race. Sometimes, if we're going to be accountable, if we're going to be responsible, if we're going to be consistent and fair and it doesn't make for a happy person in the short run sometimes. In other words, if that's my goal, if I made it from here, I'm fully attached with it, and yet I have all of these responsibilities and I meet them, sometimes that makes me tired and irritable. It does. I would rather do that than slough off my responsibilities and walk around pretending everything is fine while people are burning, people are being hurt, No way. No way. No way. My grandfather, my Italian grandfather, was one of the nicest, one of the most caring, one of the most responsible people I ever met. And he had really nothing. He was a mechanic. Yeah. And he used to give his mechanic services away in the neighborhood. Give them away to people that couldn't afford them. And people would promise him they were going to pay him, and they never paid him. And he never said no. And he was ultimately responsible to his community. Was he in a bad mood a lot? He was. He was. Was he happy? I think he was content. I swear to God I do. So don't get these optics confused. Don't get the optics confused. And listen, the easiest way to get conned is open up to words, open up to politeness, open up to words. Oh, he said the nicest thing. Why is my account missing 20 grand? Please be aware. Please be awake. Not woke, awake. Different thing, right? So let's try to get to the place. Now, if consistency, if the medium falls a little bit, and it's just falling a little bit, then the stars are easier to see. Then the haters are going to hate more. So if you pick a life of perfection, if you pick a life, the quest of perfection, there's no such thing in nature as perfection, right? But there's close things. If you pick a life of evolvement, that I'm going to continue to get better, that I'm going to continue to be a beneficial presence on the planet, that I want to be more and more and more and never less, always growing, never shrinking in all of my things, then you're going to be a star. And if you're going to be a star, there are those who are going to hate you, especially if they bought into the mediocrity play. They're going to hate you, and that's okay. See, from a merge place, you don't care what these people think of you. You don't. All you care about is, am I a beneficial presence on the planet? Am I getting better? Am I better than I was yesterday? Am I making progress? Am I making a difference? That's what you care about. If you care about the opinions of others, of you, you're going to have a terrible life if you're an overachiever. And by an overachiever, I don't mean that in a negative connotation like, oh, he's overachieving because he is a hole he can't fill because he's not merged, so he's going to fill it up with money. That's a different fucking thing. What I'm talking about is overachieving from a whole place, being a beneficial presence on the planet, being a star of your thing. If you think you can do that, and everybody's going to love you, everybody's going to understand, everybody's going to see it your way, don't get out of bed today. Give that dream up, because the two are impossible. They can't both happen. They can't both happen. And you can see that just read the comments on anyone, no matter who they are. Fucking people are shit cannon Mother Teresa. Like it doesn't matter who you are. People are going to have negative things if you're a star, if you decide to do something extraordinary. What is something extraordinary? Let's talk about it. Extraordinary is something that I envisioned from my wholeness. That's all it is. Something that I envisioned from my wholeness. Whether I'm going to be an extraordinary mother, whether I'm going to be an extraordinary father, whether I'm going to be an extraordinary husband, whether I'm going to be an extraordinary wife, whether I'm going to be an extraordinary business person, whether I'm going to be an extraordinary artist, whether I'm going to be an athlete, that's all that is. And when you decide in whatever you're doing, washing clothes, cleaning the house, writing a book, playing a song, when you decide that you're going to be extraordinary, you come out of the line of mediocrity into the light. And once you're exposed to the light, there are people that are going to hate you. If you can't come to grips with that, stay home. In Australia, they call it the tall poppy syndrome. I didn't even understand what that meant, but when I was there and as a kid, it's easier to knock down the poppy that's sticking up than it is to grow the rest of the poppies. So there will always be people trying to knock you down, whether that's your mom or talk you out of an idea. Because here's the thing. If we're in a pod and we're all 16 inches, right? We're all 16 inches high. And like we're all 16 inches high. And one of us gets the idea that it wants to grow to 32 inches. The rest of us try to fucking talk you out of it. Because all of a sudden we're going to look awfully short. So that is constantly happening. It's the nature of things, and it's all around you. It's all around you. Now, how do you combat that? I want to tell you. If it was done from wholeness, your energy is so strong, you will actually convince some of the rest of the pod to grow with you. And now you have this beautiful contrast. And that's the gorgeous thing about it. The other thing about it is this. If you choose not to be extraordinary, that is beautiful too. Look at it. If you choose that that is not the thing for me. The thing for me is to participate, because all of these pieces are needed in the village. You need alphas, you need betas, you need all these different things. The thing that we can't do is we can't shit can each other for what we are. If you notice this, somebody who chooses one of Gary Vaynerchuk's one of my favorite speakers. And what he always says is, hey, look, if 50 grand a year is going to make you happy, have at it. Do it with everything in you. Enjoy it. And I'm going to tell you, if you ever see someone like that, they're having the time of their life. If you're that person, they made that decision from here and it's working perfectly. They are necessary, absolutely necessary part of the village. Just like the type A is, just like the type B is, just like all of these different people are together in this village. The thing that I don't want to have happen is unfulfilled potentiality, because unfulfilled potentiality is the thing that creates retching. It's at the end of the road, the regrets that are insurmountable. You don't want to get to the end and say, you know what? When I was 18, I should have tried to play the guitar. When I was 20, I should have become an artist. When I was this, I should have become a healer. When I was working at the post office, I hated it. I stood there 40 years and I hated it and I hated it. You don't want that. You want the end to say, you know what? I took a lot of shots and I missed most of them, but I made a few. And those few that I made have made all the difference. Boom. Boom. So today, I want you to feel this. I want you to feel this and to know that it's okay. And to know that people are going to hate you. And if you cannot release yourself from the hate and opinion of others, you can't get anywhere. As a matter of fact, so let's say somebody becomes good at something. Let's say that they become a great artist, a great healer, a great business operator, a great whatever, and people start talking badly about them. Then that's inevitably what's going to happen. They'll find something in a personal relationship they had. They'll find something here that they said wrong or did, like they'll find shit. And when they do, if you release your connection with their opinion, that person just goes away. Now, you can't do it for that reason, but you have to do it as a practice. And you know what's going to happen? Someone else will replace that person. You can never, ever, ever get out of it if you're doing a good job. You got choices. You can do a worse job to make everyone happy, or you can be the star that you are. And don't let anybody, when I tell you, don't let anybody tell you that your past is going to be your future. Because if this lands on you and you hear it, it will not. And then don't let anybody talk you out of your greatness. Anybody talk you out of your greatness. I don't care if it's your mother, your sister, your brother, anyone, not one person, not one. Yeah. And to the best of your ability, and this is something that I'm constantly fighting with, that I want this finished product to look this way. I want to be committed to it's going this way, and at the same time conscious of people's feelings as I go. I'm constantly fighting to deliver my message of excellence to my team without being cruel. And that is really, really a gift. And that might take someone a lifetime to learn how to do, especially if someone's really committed to being the best, the greatest, the this, the that. But that is one of the arts, because, and this is where this gets confusing to people, people's feelings are important. They're not as important as their welfare. So in other words, listen to this. Somebody's riding a bike and they don't know it, but the sidewalk ends and there's a 40-foot drop. And they're riding and they have their earphones on and da-da-da-da. And I don't want to upset them by telling them that there's this hole there. So because it would be impolite if I walked over and pushed their bike over. So I'll just let them go over the thing. That is not the way to do it. Their welfare has to be your most important thing. Your welfare has to be your most important thing. Perfect. I went a little long today. I want to say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, Peter. Hi, Myra. Hi, Jen Sedini. Hi, John. Hi, Gina. Hi, guys. Hi, Jen. Hi, Raquel. Hi, Jen. I can't wait to see you guys at Rythmia, to be able to be both feet in life and walk the path of I don't give a darn. I am going. I am going. I am in life. I am improving. I am getting better. I am making a difference. Be here with me now. Come to Rythmia and visit us. We're here. We're open. We're COVID-free, and we want your participation. Please come and see us now. Until next week.